This is Call Me Didi, a podcast all about empowering you to become your best self while having a bit of fun.
Didi? What do you mean by that?
Didi, like your virtual big sister. Welcome to today's episode of Call Me Didi. I'm your host Diva.
And I'm your host, Sanchi, and let's get into the episode.
Let's do it. Should we start with our highlights of the week as usual?
Yes, let's do it.
You want to start?
Cool. Okay, so my highlight was yesterday's reel shooting thing in the park because I feel like it was just so cute and fun. We were having just our moment of shooting different types of content, having challenge fun and just laughing, and it was beautiful all around. Birds were chirping and there were lots of laughs, and that made me feel like life is actually made up of these small little moments.
Yeah, Sachi was like, if our life eventually just looks like this one day, I wouldn't mind. And I was like, yes, bro, like this is amazing. But yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
That is my highlight. What was yours?
Mine was getting my passport in the mail.
That's so funny, Diva.
Bro, like I had a pretty good week, but nothing spectacular happened. But I've been waiting for my passport for so long, and I have a trip coming up very soon.
Yeah.
And I made all these bookings last week for the trip, and then my friends were like, oh, so like are we okay to like pay money for everything? And I was like, sure, I don't have a passport but I think it should be fine. And ever since I've just been stressing about it. So when I saw it, I was like, oh, thank God, now I can actually leave the country.
Oh my God. Do you wanna reveal where you're going? Are you happy to tell it to our audience?
Yeah, I'm going to go to Thailand in May, but I think this might come out around that time anyway.
That's true.
Yeah, I might be in Thailand. I might have come back from Thailand. We don't know for sure.
I think you'll be in Thailand when this episode comes out. But if you wanna just stay up to date with her trip, follow us on Call Me Didi podcast on Instagram because we're gonna put out stories of BTS content
on our trip. Yep. Yeah, follow us there.
Cool.
All right, should we get into today's episode?
Yes, what are we talking about?
We're talking about dealing with immigrant guilt and navigating life after uni.
Yes. Oh my God. This episode is very dear to my heart.
Same.
Because I feel like we have had a hard, challenging life, but it's a beautiful one after university. And we want to just share it with everyone because I feel like a lot of people go through this. And it's important to talk about it, especially immigrant guilt, because it's so real and we feel so guilty to talk about it, especially with our parents, because we can't really.
I never have.
Yeah. So you really need to talk about it because it's real. It's very real.
Yeah. Okay. But let's start maybe with our journeys to find a job for this episode. And hopefully we're able to give you some advice if you're in that phase looking for a job and there's something that you can take away from it. I remember that after my undergrad degree, I had the hardest time looking for a job, and I went through like a very, very bad phase in my life.
Yeah.
And I changed things after my master's degree to find a job. But maybe for now, let's start with your journey.
Yeah.
And I can tell you about mine also eventually, about what you did and what your journey was after you graduated to then find a job. And I know it would have been harder for you because you spent half your uni in India, right? During COVID.
Yes.
So I'm sure that it was like you didn't have any networking opportunities during that time.
Yeah.
So what did you do to get where you are now?
Damn, I'm gonna have to take a flashback at that really hard time in my life. But I'm gonna start from the start of 2023. It was January 2023. My lease was also ending, and I was also looking for a new job because I had just quit. And it was the time when I was jobless and homeless at the same time.
Aww.
And it oh my God. It was so hard because I wanted to find a job And then according to the job, I wanted to find the house near to my job, but then you couldn't find a house because I didn't have running income to show. So I wasn't getting a place under my name as well. And it took us 3 months to figure everything out. And the only thing that kept me going at that time was just that I found Diva to find a place with. Not kidding. And then also my dad, he really like motivated and pushed me, and he was like, it's fine. Everyone has to go through this. How will you learn if you don't face your challenges?
Oh, yeah, that's so good. Oh, so nice that your dad is such a positive influence.
Yeah. Anyways, so what I was doing at the time was I just networked as much as I could at that time. Like I would go for most of the events that aligned with what I was trying to find, or where I could meet people in the Adelaide industry, because Adelaide is such a small place and it is such a tight-knit community that you have to break through that. And I learned in those 3 months that you really couldn't find a job just by simply applying online, because I applied for over 100 jobs and I did not get a single interview. Can you imagine? Not a single interview. And so I was like, okay, this is not working. I have to do something different. So what I did was I actively looked on Google. I typed marketing agencies in Adelaide, and then I would open their websites, look through the website, and I would email every person in the team and align my email in a way that it goes like it sounds like I've read through the company before, and then I'm sending them an email. So I would cold email them.
Did you say every person in the team?
Not every person in the team, but the people who would
Had ability to hire.
either ability to hire, or I would connect with LinkedIn though, every person in the team. And if they accepted my connection, I would message them asking, hey, I'm looking for a job in your company. Do you have any tips? Something like that.
Yeah.
I got a LinkedIn premium for that, you know?
Yeah.
So that I could just message people where I was trying to find a job and be in their connection in some way or the other. And I also wanted to do some courses so that I could just level up and learn more about personal branding or like digital marketing, all those things. And then I also tried to volunteer. So I applied for a volunteer position at 2 companies. One was online and one was in person here in Adelaide. And to my surprise, Diva, I did not find a job through that, but that volunteering turned into...
Is that the South Start conference that you're talking about?
Yes. It was so funny. I applied to be a volunteer and I went there and I was having a conversation with the founder, and I told her that, oh, I've started marketing and I'm looking for a job in marketing. And I've also applied for being a volunteer to help you out in marketing. But if you want extra help, I'm more than happy to do that because I don't have a job right now. And she was like, oh, yes, I will connect you to the marketing manager. And then I had a chat with the marketing manager who was doing marketing for South Start. And then it just ended up being a contract work where I got paid to do the work.
Cool.
Yeah, I know. I was like, wow. Even though I didn't get like a full-time job, it just turned into the paid gig. That made me so happy.
Yeah,
it was so good. And
because you went and you put yourself out there and you said a lot of hellos and you just asked, like you shamelessly asked. That's what counts.
Yes. If you don't ask, you won't get.
Exactly.
Yeah. And then same thing happened with my other freelancing gig where I applied to be a volunteer ambassador at the company, and they didn't hire me as a ambassador because of something, and then she just offered me to be a contract person who would do video editing for her and do content creation. I was like, wow, I love that. But how I actually found my full-time job was through networking again. Like I signed up for this online meetup thing, a coffee catch up, and then my current boss was on that call, and he messaged me on LinkedIn saying, "Hey, we are looking for someone, internal marketer. Would you wanna be a part of it? If yes, please let me know and I'll give you a call." And then he randomly called me, asked me about what I wanted to do and all that stuff. And then he asked me to come in and gave me like a task to do, which I did. And then they ended up hiring me. It was just,
So cool.
yeah. I went through so much struggle of applying online, but what ended up serving me was networking.
Yeah, literally same for me.
Yeah.
My one tip is to start very early though. So what I did in my master's was when I started uni, I basically started applying for jobs as soon as I started uni.
Yeah.
And I didn't care that maybe I don't have the skill set yet. I started looking for part-time marketing gigs. I had some experience from a small business that I'd started, and I learned a lot of skills through that on my own. So I understood like the construct of marketing and everything that it involves. But obviously, I didn't have any formal experience in it, but I just started applying for jobs,
Yeah.
like part-time jobs, instead of working in an industry that doesn't align with what I want to do.
Yeah.
And then I got like a part-time marketing job during uni. But I knew so that wasn't a digital marketing job. That was a sort of print marketing role. It was still good. It was still good experience. But then I went and I interned for a company, and I approached. So the way I found that company was I went around and asked my lecturers for good agencies in Adelaide. And she gave me a recommendation. So then I cold emailed them and I said, "Hey, like my lecturer's spoken about you and I'd love to come intern for you." I went and interned for free. I didn't get paid for it.
Yeah.
But that then turned into a part-time role, which then turned into a full-time role. And so the one thing that I always tell people who are in this position looking for a job is that start as early as you can, and network, and shamelessly ask for what you want.
Oh my God, that's so good. Actually, I want to say something that when you're in uni or even like once you graduate and you're trying to look for a job, you are most likely working in hospitality or retail to sustain yourself, right? But it's so easy to just get lost in those jobs that are not aligned with your actual occupation because you're just comfortable, you're getting paid, and you don't put enough effort into finding the occupation you want to actually go into. So just want to say, please start early, as Diva said, because it will actually be really helpful.
Yeah. Also, don't forget that when you're looking for these jobs, right, most people will do this. They will apply for everything that they see online.
Yeah.
But remember that this job is actually going to help you build skills. You're going to take something away from it. It's going to be your first step into your career in a new country. So be a bit selfish about it as well. Look at what you want to do. Look at what sort of skills you want to gain.
Yes.
Look at what sort of people you want to work with, what sort of environment and cultures you want to be in. And I know that in that phase, you're like, I'll just take anything. Just give me anything, I'll take it, because you want to start building experience. But if you start early, if you start as soon as uni starts, or even like second year uni, if you're doing your bachelor's, third year uni, as long as you've then started ahead of everybody else that's in your peer group, so you're already one step early, and that gives you the leverage to look for what you want to do. Because when you reach the point of finishing uni and you're in that phase, you will have to sort of just basically take whatever you get, because then very often, if you're an immigrant, you have some sort of a visa time bomb that's ticking to get your permanent residency. Now, I do want to say that this time period in life is so hard that I just want to tell you that you're not alone. If this is something you're going through or you have gone through, you're not alone in this. Everybody goes through it. There is very high chances that you may not feel good about yourself even.
Yeah.
Like I didn't for a long time.
Yeah.
But it doesn't mean you're unworthy of getting the best thing in your life or getting that job that you deserve just because you haven't found it yet.
Yeah. And That's so true, Diva. Like, I felt the same thing for the longest time, especially when I was jobless and homeless at the same time. But what gets you through that time is finding people who feel like home. That is so important. When I didn't have a place, I found a place with one of my really close friends now, and I was just living there, and that simply made my heart feel like it's okay, I'll get there. Finding you in the process, that made me like, though these kind of people, when you are not feeling worthy in yourself, help you get that self belief back,
Yeah.
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 And yeah, it's just really important to have those people. And I understand that it can get so hard to find these people who feel like home.
Because it is hard to make friends after uni.
Yes.
Very often your friends may have relocated, some may have gone back to India. Sometimes people just go into a different phase in their lives after uni, and you just can't relate to them anymore.
Yeah.
Or in our case, we relocated cities,
Yes.
right? And we had to start from scratch to make new friends.
Yeah.
So do you have any tips on how to make friends?
I do. Although I'm a very people person, and it's not as hard for me as it is for a lot of people out there. But what I did was I would actively, okay, so my first friend in Adelaide I found through just scrolling dating apps. I downloaded Bumble and Hinge and Dilmil. That's so funny. And I found
You
people.
downloaded Dilmil.
I went on dates, and then I turned them into
You were
friends.
desperate enough to download Dilmil. Who goes on Dilmil?
I was.
To be honest, maybe now I should download Dilmil. Because I've had zero success with it.
Bro, it was a success. I found one of my closest friends through that dating app, okay? And now he's just a really dear friend to me. So,
Yeah.
Anyways, and the second one would be to just join hobby classes.
Yeah.
For example, going for a yoga studio or joining run clubs. And then making actively plans outside of those things to just have that personal connection.
Yeah.
I also found a lot of friends through networking events. Like when I went for South Start, I met some really nice people who I'm still in contact with, and then we go for a brunch and coffee catch-ups here and there.
Oh, cute.
Yeah.
I was also going to say that now on Instagram, there are lots of these, almost like these clubs popping up in different cities that you can, and I think mostly for brown women is the kind of people I would want to connect with. But whatever your gender, it doesn't matter. But there are a lot of these little clubs that come up on Instagram where they're organizing get-togethers. I would say try and actively look for that sort of stuff, because there's a high chance you might find people that you will become friends with through those kind of clubs.
Yes. Yeah.
But yeah, the one thing I will say though is that when you are in the space and you know that, firstly, you have to decide in your mind that I want to make a conscious effort to find friends.
Yes.
Because that's what I did.
Yeah.
Right? I said, okay, like I want to meet new people.
Yeah.
And I want to make new friends. So then what you need to do is actually put in that active effort.
Yeah.
So the way I have made my most good friends now is that I've just said yes a lot.
Yeah.
So I've said yes if my friend says, hey, do you want to come hang out? Or somebody I've met for the first time even, and they say, hey, do you want to catch up again? I will say yes. Or if there's like something happening somewhere, I'll say, okay, I'm going to go to that because that'll be cool.
Yeah.
And then, like, for example, one of my friends invited me to this other friend's house, and this other friend I'd never met before.
Yeah.
And the old diva would have just said, no, like, I don't know her. It'll be weird. I don't want to go. But I said, you know what? Why not? Let me just go.
And now she's a really good friend of ours.
Yeah. So you just have to say yes. Yeah. And don't be... The worst thing that would happen is that you just come back home and you're like, oh, cool. I had a good conversation today. That's all.
That's true. That's true. And the final point I have to say is Diva and I throw a lot of house parties. And we usually invite a bunch of people and we tell them to bring plus ones so that we get to meet more new people.
Yeah. Or just you become somebody's plus one and go to parties.
That is also true.
Yeah. And then I don't do this very much, but I have friends who do this. If they go meet people, they'll add them on Instagram.
Yeah.
And then send them like a nice message saying, it was lovely meeting you. I'd love to meet you again. Because again, that is literally going to cost you nothing.
Yeah.
And if you've done that, then that other person feels so appreciated that, hey, like this person actually enjoyed my company when they met me.
Mm.
And it's very likely that either they will initiate another plan or you can also initiate another plan again to meet them.
Yeah, true.
Cool. That's that. And lastly, let's talk about immigrant guilt. This is something we started a conversation with. So let's touch on that again. Now, guilt can come in so many forms as an immigrant.
Yeah.
For example, that guilt could be, spending money that your families work so hard for during, uni or even after uni.
Yeah.
For me, that guilt is living moments that I'm able to live and having experiences that I'm able to have because my family worked so hard for it and was able to provide me with a life that I can, which is this life, but I'm not able to share those experiences with my family.
Yeah.
And yeah, like for example, we went to see a beautiful sunset the other day and I felt so present in that moment. And all I wanted was to be able to share that with the people that I love the most.
Yeah.
And that sense of guilt came up. And I know that so many people deal with this guilt, but we just never talk about it.
Yeah. Oh my God, Diva. I also feel guilt, but my guilt is very different to what you're feeling. In a way that I feel like that a lot of times after uni, it's not so often that you go back home, right? For example, you go back home after 1 year, 2 years, right? And my brother is younger than me. And he's going through the time of his life where he's growing up really fast. And if I go back home after 1.5, 2 years, he's a completely different person. His voice has changed. He's taller than me. He's growing facial hair. That makes me feel like, damn, bro, like I'm missing out on some really, really key moments of my family and just everything back home.
That's, a lot of people struggle with their parents getting older.
Yes.
Because every time you go back, things have changed.
True.
And it's such a difficult feeling in your heart to even feel that.
Yeah.
So yeah, I completely understand.
Yeah. Well, but what really gets me through that feeling of guilt is when I think that everyone has to pay a price to follow their dream life. And I feel so grateful that I do have the guts to pay that price, to live my dream life. And of course, there's pain involved in it. But I think my parents are also proud of the fact that I'm living the way I want to live. And it's very hard to live the way you want to live. Not everybody has the potential for that. You remember the scene in Ye Jawani Hai Diwani when Bunny comes back to the home and his dad is no more and he's just so sad, feeling the guilt, and his stepmom comes and she says that your dad was so proud of you that you had the guts to go after your dreams no matter what everybody else told. The same feeling, bro. That I always cry.
Fuck, I have goosebumps. That's so intense. Yes. Yeah. Yeah, it's so important to remember that your parents actually, or your family is actually happy for you. They want you to do this. They want you to succeed.
Yeah.
And look, eventually, the goal should be to be successful enough to be able to share those moments with your family.
Yeah.
To not have to feel this guilt. If you want to fly back, you can fly back tomorrow.
Yes. Yeah.
So,
or fly them in.
Yeah. Or just live however you want to live.
Yeah.
Most immigrants could get there, after you've figured out your visa and all of that. But I just want to say that this feeling is very real, and you are not alone in feeling it. A lot of people experience this.
Yes, true. And I also felt something that I've been closer to my family more after I've relocated to Australia, because I feel like now I actively make an effort to connect with them on a daily basis. I will actively involve them in my life, tell them about every little thing, and they would do the same. And it has brought us so much closer, which is not the same when you are living back home. I mean, it's a different kind of close, but I feel like I don't know. I have felt more closer to my family after I've come here. Do you feel the same?
I feel the same, but I feel every time I go back, I feel really, really present whenever I'm back. Like, I have the best time when I travel back home, and I'm always just waiting for the next time I get to do that.
Yeah.
Anyway, this episode was a bit heavy, but I think it was an important one. But I think with that, we can end this episode today.
Yeah. Also, we would love to hear your struggles or what you feel as an immigrant anywhere in the world, if you're an immigrant, right?
Yes.
We would love to hear your struggles as well.
Just tell us in the comments, or you can DM us. And if there's something else you want us to talk about, tell us. We would love to have these vulnerable conversations.
Yeah.
Because again, you are not alone in your journey.
Yes. Well, it's such a beautiful ending. We'll see you in the next episode.
See you there.
Bye.